You stupid bitch. Yeah, you're a stupid bitch. You stupid bitch.
Okay, I'm ready. Let's do this.
Oh, hi.
Well, hello there.
And season 9 premiere on the cards.
Yay.
Mm,
Do you know how many people have asked me when we're coming back to record?
yes, excellent. I love that. Um, I've been working, well, I haven't for the last couple of weeks, well, pretty much since the sisters have been here, which I'll get to when I say sisters, dear listeners. Um, but I'd started working on the TikTok and I was doing, I don't know if I told you about that cap chat or whatever it was, where it pulls the words that you say. So I was
Capture.
talking to a yeah, something like that. But I was talking to a young chick at work who does listen to the podcast. Hi Kim, said chick. And she was
Yellow
saying,
Kim.
giving me ideas on how to make the TikTok look like the others and having the words and all that stuff. So I'm still got to play around with that so I can change the colors when you're talking to when I'm
Oh.
talking and stuff like that, and change some of the words because you know when it picks up a word and it will not be what you said, or
You
it'll
are
spell out.
so much better at this stuff than I am. I'm just so shocking. I was trying to make some crafty posts the other day just to post on my personal Instagram about some books I was reading.
Didn't happen.
I tried. It just looked like shit.
Oh.
And I was like, and then I was like, I'll ask Bino to make me a template.
Yeah, just send me what you had in Canberra and I can see if I can
It's
jazz
not
it up.
much. It's a bit shit.
It's not much, but it's home. So yeah, so I've still got to work on those. And then I think we should be able to get into our TikTok account now anyway, shouldn't we?
You got into it. I
No, I
get
didn't.
notifications all the time.
No.
Oh, I don't know. I nearly deleted it the other day because it's always pinging me and I don't like it.
Well, as long as we can just get into the stupid bitch say what one, and then I mean, I think it's probably good to get a catalogue of about 6 TikToks ready and just
Mm.
release them all at once and then do
Mm-hmm.
ones post that. But yeah, anyway, welcome, dear listeners, to the season 9 premiere of Stupid Bitches Say What.
A
Back with you.
podcast about everything and nothing, but always with wine.
Yes, with wine.
Sorry,
Oh,
interrupted you, you stupid
that's
bitch.
all right. It's what we're here for. Um, and yes, and returning again for the 9th season in a row is your stupid bitch host, Skyly Collett.
And Sean, Bino's stupid bitch
Look,
Hipkins.
it's a pleasure. And we're going into episode 96. Can you believe it?
It's insane. We're so close to the 100th
To the
episode. It's like,
100th.
what?
I know. Hitting the 3 figures.
Indeed, indeed.
It's very exciting. And tonight's episode is True Crime Australia.
I feel like this evening is going to have a real true crime theme across both of our episodes, isn't it?
Yes, well, I mean, depending on, I can't remember what you were doing. I know that the pop culture one is themed as, but whether it's true crime or speculation crime,
It is.
yeah.
It's something like that.
But anyway, I mean, I'm going to say how's your week been, but how's your life been
Um,
between the finale of season 8 and now?
Look, it's been a real hot minute since we were last on the mics together.
Has.
Season 9, let's go, please.
Let's get sickening.
Is it really my turn to go first? Like to talk about how's your week been? Isn't it? What are you drinking?
Oh yeah, what are you drinking, you stupid bitch? It's as you said, it's
You
been a hot minute.
are the dumbest bitch. Um, I'm drinking beer. Nothing exciting.
I'm drinking beer.
I was thinking about it this morning. I always say, usually in the first episode, that I'm just going to start on the beers because I've got so many things to do tomorrow. And that's a common theme, like every podcast. Start on the beers, go on the wines because I've got so many things that I want to do tomorrow. But I'm
Yes.
actually going to drink beers exclusively tonight because I
Oh
do have lots
wow.
of stuff that I have to do tomorrow. It's cool. I'll probably put away about 12 beers.
Even so the premiere won't go dry.
But wine makes me silly. It really
Yes.
does. And
Well,
then,
and
I'd probably drink 2 bottles of wine and then drink 12 beers. So,
yeah. Or vice versa, yeah. We
mm.
we are trying a little bit of a different format with our recording schedule this season too. So we were getting absolutely slaughtered on Friday nights when we were doing doubles.
Slaughtered, people, slaughtered.
And it would then, as Skye said, just ruin the fucking Saturday. So
Our
it was sort
husbands
of,
were getting quite impatient with us
yes,
because we'd be like, yeah, it's just going to be
it's
a cruiser
cool.
one. We're going to
It's
drink
fine.
beers.
We'll be done by 11, 1:30.
No, 3 a.m. We had a few 3 a.m.s there a few times.
Scream singing. um, so we are doing a couple of Fridays, especially for the premiere and the closing, and we'll do it for our 100th episode.
Yes,
but then the
indeed.
other ones we're trialing now is just weekly recordings on a Thursday night, which will
Yeah.
keep things civilized
Just a little
when it comes to the
somber one.
beverage,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
we'll free up our life a little bit, which will be good.
That's okay because I kind of like our sober banter. I think it has a different take than our drunken banter, but equally good, I
Yes,
feel.
and people can probably understand us a little easier too, so that'll be fun.
I feel like I'm more wittier. Actually, it's hard to say. Am I
Yeah,
wittier when I'm drunk or
it's a
wittier
different
when
humor.
I'm sober? Who
It's a
knows?
different humor, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, okay, so you're on the beers.
What are you drinking, you stupid
Well,
bitch?
just for you tonight, I am giving my very first red hot go to
Stop it.
Mudhouse.
No
A
way.
Mudhouse Savvy Bee. I went and bought it at the bottle shop the other day, and
I
I went
love
to
that for
get my
you.
Penfolds one, but they didn't have it. And then I was going to get the
Oh,
Penfolds because I was going to have the red
Max's
wine
Max's
first.
Penfolds, isn't
That's
it?
right. Yeah, Cap
Super
Sav.
babe.
I was going to have that first and then this in the pop culture, but then I completely forgot when I left work today. So
Mm.
it's this and another bottle of chilled wine afterwards.
Also, have you had a sip yet?
Yes, and it is delicious.
I told you, isn't it the best? It's just like you cannot stop drinking it once you start. It's so easy to drink
It's
that you're
very
just
nice
like bang, bang, bang.
and gorgeous on a hot day like today.
Yeah, I
So
know it's
cheers,
fucking
stupid bitch, to
boiling.
season 9 premiere.
Cheers, you
Chin
stupid
chin. Look at
bitch.
my face.
So weird. It's actually the second last day of winter for us, and we're roasting. We've had
Yeah.
36 degrees days, people, in Queensland, and it's not like spring.
Yeah, I know.
We're still in the final days of winter, and we're
I,
at 36 degrees. Bali, anyone? Seriously?
I saw someone a report saying it's first time Queensland has recorded 4 days in August over 30 degrees.
I know. Well, Tyler was saying the same. He always tells me facts about weather.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been hot. I had some people at work come up from down south from New South Wales, and they were like, when they got here, they were like, "What is happening? Why is it stinking hot?" And I was like,
Climate change.
Queensland weather, mate.
Mm.
I'm not looking forward to the summer if it's this hot
Oh
already.
God, I know.
Yeah.
And I need to get a pool in that backyard of yours and inflatable, although the dog could just destroy it.
Oh, he would. He would. We could put it in the front yard. We
Yeah,
could put it
true.
in the
In the garage,
downstairs,
on
really.
the driveway. Yeah, in the
And the
garage.
rumpus. It'd be
Yeah.
fun. It'd be
Bring
fun.
a
It's
TV
cool. It's
in.
cool. It's cool.
That'd be cool. So how has your week been? Let's go back to that.
My week has been good. I'm just looking at this massive, massive long story that I wrote in preparation for this, and there's no way I'm going to read it. So
I'll ad lib.
I'll give the highlights, shall I? This week, my darling husband had to go in for a colonoscopy, but also another one that starts with colonoscopy, but has about 50 other letters after it.
Colonoscopy
Yeah, it's so long. We were both like, what is that word? You can't even pronounce that. So he had to do the whole pre-prep thing because they were putting him under, yada yada. So he had to drink the stuff and he had to fast from 8 a.m. the day before his surgery.
Yeah,
Now,
that's hectic, isn't it?
it's so insane. And so what happened was they phoned him after he had started fasting and said, hey, can we reschedule? And he was like, fuck that.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
I've already started
Um,
fasting and I'm already prepared. Like, we're ready to go. I've got all the he hadn't actually started drinking the stuff yet, but he had started fasting and he was on the clear liquid. So leading up to the stuff that you have to drink, you have to be on a low fiber diet. So there's only certain foods that you can eat,
in the
like,
lead
you know,
up, right?
all white stuff, and you can't eat veg, you can't eat anything with fiber
Oh,
in it,
wow.
basically. So he was already doing that. And then they said, can we reschedule? He's like, no waste. But so his appointment originally was like 7:30 or 8:30 in the morning. And they said, well, okay, fine, we understand, but can you do 11:30?
Yeah.
And then he rang me and told me, I was like, you should have just said no and like stamped your feet and said, no, I'm coming in
Yeah.
at the original time, because that meant it didn't change his fasting period at all. So he still had to fast from the same time, but his surgery was later.
Yeah.
Anyway, so then you have to drink the stuff every couple of hours. It's like that really horrible liquid. Have you ever had one of those things
No.
where you have to do pre-prep? I did it ages ago, but I didn't do any of the instructions and ate up until the night before. And I think drank one liter of the pre-pep when you're supposed to have like 5 by that point.
So you pooed all over the thing.
Probably. But my dear husband, is a real follower. He has to do everything like by the book. So I spoke to you, I think, on the morning that we were going to the hospital. And I am like a crazy breakfast person. That is my favorite meal of the day. Have to eat breakfast. I also get very hangry when I don't eat.
Yes.
And I'm a bit of a nightmare person to be around when I'm hungry and I can't eat. Like, it just overtakes me and I become quite of a psycho
Do you
beast
know,
person.
I have just realized, probably in the last 3 months, that I actually get hangry. I just thought people just really annoyed me and realized I hadn't eaten. I'd
Do you
just be
know,
like, Vinny is so annoying today, but it's because I haven't eaten for 4 hours.
I think if I wasn't married, I probably still wouldn't know that about myself and
Yeah.
I would probably just dismiss it. But
It's everyone else, not me.
Tyler's got some pretty hard evidence and
To back
lots
it
of
up.
stories to back up just how horrible I am when I'm really hungry and I can't get something to eat.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I woke up. So he'd been fasting since 8 o'clock on the Tuesday morning. We woke up on the Wednesday morning and I got up and closed the bedroom door because he was still in bed. So he hadn't eaten by that point in, 24 hours. But I had to eat and I had to go and sit in the hospital all day. So I went in and I always make eggs with veggies. And so I made my eggs and veggies and closed the door. I didn't put the coffee percolator on because I know that the scent would have went into the bedroom
Yeah.
because I know how strong it is. So I was like, nope, I'm just going to make an instant coffee so he can't smell that. But of course he could smell the eggs cooking. And I felt like the worst person in the world because I had to eat my breakfast. And then I was talking to you, I was like, Tyler's fasting, but I'm eating my breakfast because I
Yeah.
need it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Did he
so
understand though?
he was
Yeah.
totally understanding. He was
Yeah.
so cool about it. Like, I said to him, I'm so glad that this is not happening to me because I would be a nightmare and you would just like, I would just be the worst, most horrible person in the world to live with if I had to fast. So in the end, he
Vinny
ended
would
up,
just go to bed the whole time. Vinny would just be in bed.
he did try. Like, he was actually totally had his shit together about the whole thing. He didn't whinge. There was a few times in the night where he sort of rolled around and was a bit restless and huffed and puffed a little bit, but he was so cool about it, whereas I would have been the complete opposite.
Yeah, Vinny would too. Vinny would be complaining the whole time. I'm starving, starving.
Oh, he was so good about it. And even like he went out with one of someone that he works with and they were eating in front of him and then they weren't hungry and they threw out their food and he was like, oh God, this is hard. Anyway, so we rock up to the hospital and the appointment's at 11:30. They didn't get him in until 1:15.
Oh my
And
God.
I was sat there because it was at the PA where they have Starbucks. And I was like, yep, 11:30. He's going to go in for surgery. I've had my breakfast at 7 a.m. So I'm going to go straight down. I'm going to get a feed. I'm going to have a coffee from Starbucks. I was super pumped about it.
Yeah.
So
Excited
it gets to like 1 o'clock and I'm starting to get hangry because it's past my lunch hour because I always eat at work at like 12 o'clock. And I had only had one instant coffee because I always have another big like cappuccino as well from Zaraffa's. So I hadn't had my second coffee. So I was actually being a lot more psychotic
Then he
and
was.
frustrated. And he hadn't eaten by that point for like 36 or 38 hours, and I hadn't eaten for about 3.
Shit's going down, people.
I know. So, anywho, he had his surgery. He was in and out, and all's good. And then he got to eat, and then he just ate everything in sight.
Yeah, fair enough
For a
too.
good 24 hours. So, but yeah, it was funny. And there's 2 other things I wanted to say. So when I was in the hospital, I was telling Lincoln, my son, and his girlfriend about this last night. So Tyler rang me to say the surgery was over, and because he'd had anesthesia, I had to go back and pick him up.
Yeah.
And anyway, so I'm walking back, and I'm walking through the halls back to the waiting area where we were in the proper public civilian area, right? I was wearing dark blue jeans. I had a grey t-shirt on that has pickles all across it, like all different jars of pickles. And I was wearing a flanny shirt, a little bit similar to what I'm wearing now, but it was like dark blue and black flanny with a hood on it, right? The only thing that I can explain it is because I was carrying a folder, like, one of those cases that you put over your laptop, because I had my laptop with me, and I had like, those zip things, sleeves, and I was like carrying the laptop in my arm. And as I'm walking across, this nurse comes towards me, and she's got this elderly man, and she's taking him into the surgical rooms, right? And I'm walking towards her, and she turns around and goes, "Hey, I don't have my fob. Can you let me in?" And I looked at her, and I looked down at myself. And my hair was like this. I had a bun on my head. I didn't even have a hairnet or anything. There was no indication by what I was wearing
You were not
or
in
how
scrubs.
I was dressed that I was some sort of medical professional that had a right to be in the back room. And then there was like a doctor or another nurse behind me, and he looks at me, looks at her, and he's like, "It's cool. I've got this," and then swipes her in. And I'm just looking at this poor old dude who she's trailing into like the medical area. I'm like, "Oh, you poor bastard."
Who knows where you're going to end up?
She's probably about to give you a needle or something or put you on a trip. She thought I was some
She's
sort of
going to
medical
amputate the wrong
professional.
leg. But did you then walk away just going, chuffed?
No, I was just completely gobsmacked. I was like, what is going on in her mind? Is she on drugs?
I love that. That's hilarious.
Oh, my son and his girlfriend wet themselves when I told them that story last night. They were like, what? I was like, I know.
You're like code blue in aisle 7.
Blood, no.
Oh, that's hilarious. I love that.
Also, very quickly, lastly, I donated $5.35 today to Wiki once again.
Good on you. Doing
They
the
really
Lord's
get me
work.
in the feels. They really get me every time I see that
I don't even know if I see it. I just must blank it because I use Wikipedia a lot too for our
research. You've
research.
never seen it.
Look, I have seen it in the past, but in the last year or so, I've not seen it. It's probably there. I just don't look at it.
Well, after I donated, they asked me to do a survey, and I was like, cool. I feel like really special because I've like, I'm really generous and I've given you money. I'm going to do this survey. And then they asked me something about the effectiveness of and the frequency of their ads. And I was like, please don't send me any more ads. This is the 3rd time this year I've donated. I'm poor.
That's $15 I've given you.
I can only give so much, but you really hit me in the feels every time you ask me because I actually use Wikipedia constantly.
Same. We should use that. Try that murder wiki as well.
Oh, I've used it heaps of times.
Yeah, I need to get into that one.
Heaps of times. But I just don't want them to end up with ads either.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like YouTube and stuff like that. I'd hate to have to watch an ad every time I wanted to get to content or and that's how they get me with it too. They're like, we just like this little company and it's all volunteer based and we just need costs to keep it running. And I'm like, yeah, okay.
Here's $5.
That sounds fair.
I just cancelled our YouTube subscription because it's like 20 something bucks a month and Eurovision's well and truly over now.
$26 a month for YouTube?
Oh, 20 something bucks.
Joke.
Yeah. I know. And that just was to get no ads, which was worth it during Eurovision though.
Sure. But it pisses me off because all these companies became big from actually, getting YouTube. Us to be part of it and listen and watch and subscribe and, be on their platform. And then they're like, yeah, we need to make more money. So we're just going to make you fuckers watch ads all the time.
Well, I guess that's how YouTube makes its money, I guess, right? Through the advertisements.
It's the same with Foxtel. We have Foxtel, yet there's ads.
Yeah, I know.
It's like, what the fuck are we paying $100 a month for?
Yeah.
We're getting fucking ads.
Oh, speaking of Foxtel, I got my Foxtel bill this month, which is through Telstra, and we pay $60 a month for Foxtel.
They're
Um,
canning it. The,
well, I
the
got this
Telstra link.
the Telstra link. What's the Telstra
So you
link?
can't get stuff through Telstra anymore. They're getting rid of all their media streaming stuff.
Well, I still get my Foxtel through Telstra, and they haven't said anything about that being an ish.
Have
But I
they
got
not? I
my
thought they
bill.
were stopping it in December because they've gotten rid of all the Telstra box office and all that sort of stuff. And you can't have email accounts with Telstra anymore. They're getting rid of Big
Oh,
Pond. They're just
interesting.
backing out of everything. You
Oh, I
might have
haven't.
got it and it's gone to spam or something.
I haven't seen anything. But anyway, I got my bill, and it was $180. I was like, "What the
Ooh.
fuck?" And we had hired a couple of movies when after the sisters had left. We'd watched Day One and Quiet Place Day One and Twisters, which is shit, FYI.
Is it? But I love that guy.
Glenn Powell.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's terrible. It's kind of exactly like Twister, but not, even though
But
it's a
not as
sequel to
good.
Twister.
Yeah.
They have the same sort of story. Chick, was subject to an F5, and a love story where this guy was with another chick and then they end up together. And but I made Vinny watch Twister for the very first time, the
Well,
first
Tyler
one.
hasn't seen either. And I said, if we're going to watch the second one, we have to
Oh, you
watch the
have to
first
watch,
one.
yeah.
Yeah.
And you'll just watch, like, it's unexplainable how it was such a box office
Is
smash.
it really bad? Is it?
It's terrible. It's just like, oh, for fuck's sake. I mean, but I remember loving it when I first watched it as
Mm,
well. And you see the cow go flying past. Some of that's funny, but like some of it's just like when the twister goes over them in the shed and they get sucked up and down. I mean,
yeah.
this thing's ripping grass and fucking houses apart, but yet their clothes stay on them and shit like that when they go around a little loop. So yeah, so watch it and you'll see what I mean. But anyway, back to Foxtel, got this bill and I was like, what the fuck? And I had a look and it said that my premium package was now $140 a month instead of 60. So I'm chatting to them. What's this about? Yada, yada, yada. You can't put it up 133% without telling me. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just the Foxtel price hike. You're going to have to contact these people. No, what are you talking about? This is like the Twilight Zone for me. This is the most bizarrest thing. You've just upped it. Rah, 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 rah. I was chatting to them for about an hour back and forth. And they're like, you're going to have to just call these people. Then I get a text message today. Hey, we made a mistake on your account. You have to do nothing. Your new credit, or you'll get credited $80, which is how much more expensive it was, and you'll be going back to your discounted rate soon, in the next bill. So I'm like, thank fuck for that, because we
Oh
were
my
just about to.
God.
I was like, the whole rigmarole of calling them and changing it. It's going to be a process.
And dealing with Telstra, even on the app, is an absolute
Yes,
fucking
nightmare,
nightmare.
absolute nightmare. So luckily, I don't have to do anything.
Oh, well, that is a good news
I know,
story.
I know.
So, how's your week been, you stupid
The
bitch?
week has been good. So, as I mentioned earlier, we had Vinny's sisters come over to Australia and stay with us for 2.5 weeks. Their first time over here, and Vinny's been here now, I think, 16 years. So it was quite
Shit,
monumental.
16 years. Fuck.
Yeah, it was quite monumental. We had all this great itinerary planned up the coast, down the coast, Australia Zoo, Sydney, did the Sydney Harbour Bridge climb, a harbour
What did they think of
cruise.
Australia Zoo?
Oh, they liked it. And we went to the Ekka. The Ekka was on, but the annoying thing was it rained when we went to the Ekka and Australia Zoo.
Oh,
So we still walked around. We were in ponchos and shit like that, but you just can't enjoy it as much,
yeah,
you know.
yeah.
But no, they had a great time. We had a great time with them. It was lovely. It was very sad saying goodbye to them. But
Mm,
Kirby girls, welcome back anytime, please.
yeah.
Um,
It was sad that we only got that really brief time to see them as well.
Yes, I know, I know. It would have been nicer. I mean, because the 2.5 weeks, the shit that we had packed into it, it would have been nice if we had another weekend where we could have done something.
Yeah, and they wanted to see all the sites. Like you can't come all that way and then not see everything either. Like that
Exactly.
has to be the priority.
Yeah, and going down the coast to, catch up with family, my family, and all that stuff. So it was great. Everyone got to see them. Um, and the other thing was a new TV show. So Teresa, a dear friend in London, had messaged me that season 2 of the show's coming out. She's like, "Oh my God, are you excited?" I'm like, "I haven't even seen season 1." And she's like, you have to, blah, blah, blah. It's on Apple TV and it's called Bad Sisters. And my CEO
The
had
Irish
also,
one.
yes. Have you
People have been
seen?
to, I've seen it keeps coming up like in feeds and like things that I follow, and people are talking about it. And the picture of the season 2, they all look very like attractive and like
Yes.
very put together. And I thought, well, that looks intriguing. And then I saw it was Irish, and I was like, ooh, is it going to be my kind of thing? Because
Yes.
it's one of those Irish ones that I'm not sure. Like it looks like it's obviously um done in a way that it's about their upbringing in Ireland and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, is it something I want to watch? But you
Yes,
reckon
you
it's
do.
good?
Yes. So we've watched 3 episodes so far. I don't know how many episodes in the season, but yeah, fucking loving it. So, Big Little
Would
Lies?
Tyler like it?
I think so. It's
Mm,
quite funny. So, Big Little Lies?
yes.
It's like that. I'm not giving away any
Oh, so it's a
spoilers.
thriller. It's like
It's
thriller,
a dark comedy.
mystery. Okay, okay.
So it starts off one of the husbands is dead.
Yeah.
Um, and then at the end of the first episode, it's like she can never know what really happened. And then it's like, oh, a whodunit type of thing. What's going
Right.
on? The husband's an absolute arsehole, the one who died. And he acts it to perfection. Like he is such a dick. You hate him. He's not just like, oh, that guy's a wanker. It's just like, I hate you, John JP. His name is John Paul.
Oh.
But yeah, it's really cool. And it's, as you said, it's Irish. So that's the Irish sisters and it's Mammy this and Mammy that. But it's hilarious. There's some really good, funny moments in it. And I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I can't
Okay,
wait to,
okay. I think I'm just a tiny bit burnt because I watched a little bit of Dairy Girls, and I remember saying to
yes.
Vinny, "Oh, Dairy Girls, that's not too bad," and he was like, "Ugh, yuck," and he was like totally off it. He said it was crap.
Well, I started watching Derry Girls and it was kind of funny, but I think it's just a bit too teeny boppery
Yeah,
because it's about the school kids. It's
yeah,
semi fun, but didn't have enough to keep me hooked in it.
yeah,
But
yeah.
fucking yeah, really enjoying Bad Sisters. Apple TV, recommend.
Well, Apple TV's the one right now, isn't it? So we only had it downstairs because we've got an old big TV in our bedroom, and now we've got Foxtel connected, and Foxtel didn't have the Apple app until last week, and
Oh, has it got the Apple app?
it's only just got it like in the last
Mm,
week, like probably not even a week. Like we were going downstairs because I really wanted to watch Loot because you
yes.
had told me about it, because I love, what's her face? Who do I love? What's her name?
Michelle?
No, oh, it's really gonna bother me and I can't think of it.
Oh, I just had it then for a second too.
What is her
Do you want
name?
me to Google?
Yes, please. What is it? I think I'm gonna need another beer in a minute.
Oh, Maya Rudolph.
Maya Rudolph, that's it. And so we started watching, and that's really good. And we were watching it downstairs, but we couldn't watch it upstairs. So we'd have to, traipse downstairs to watch it every time. And some nights we're just not in the mood to go downstairs and watch it.
Yeah. I get that.
And then we just turned the telly on the other night, and I was flicking through, so I went, "Oh my God, babe, that Apple app is on
It's
here."
on
And
it.
he was like, "What?"
Yay.
Because when we went down to watch it the first time and found Loot, we were just, all these things kept popping up. We're like, that looks good. That looks good.
Yes.
That looks good.
Yeah.
Ooh, we'd watch that. And we are
But
like,
you
damn
just don't
it,
really hear
Apple's not in
about
our
them.
bedroom.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's heaps of really good shows on Apple. And another one that's good on Apple is Shrinking. And that's by the guy who did Scrubs and Ted Lasso.
Okay.
And
I still haven't seen Ted Lasso.
you've seen Scrubs though, right?
Yeah.
And you've seen Cougar Town.
Yes.
He did Cougar Town.
Okay, cool. Shrinking.
So, and it's got Jason Segel in it.
Okay,
yeah, and
yes,
he's
yeah.
excellent in it. And his wife passes away, and he's left with a teenage daughter. And anyway, so good. It's got Harrison Ford in it. Very, very
Oh,
good show.
really?
And that's just, they're bringing out the second season, and it's
Okay.
about to come out, I think, next month, or it might even be out now. And we're like,
Okay.
oh my God, Apple TV has some really great shows.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I've got to get back into watching a few more shows. You'll be pleased to know I've been watching Schitt's Creek as well. So I've persevered through season 1. I'm in season 2. It's like every now and then
Yes.
I'll watch it, but fuck, it's funny when she goes to join the choir.
Oh,
Whatever
she's the
song she
best.
sings.
She's the best, and the brother is the best, but it does have its slow points. Like I don't really love the dad, and the sister annoys me.
Oh, really?
The sister does some funny things, and she's hilarious sometimes, but sometimes she's super cringe. And lots of the other characters, like the mayor, I find him super. I like the wife, but I can't stand him.
Is the mayor the guy that that's from Scary Movie.
Yes,
And
that's him.
yes,
Yeah, and he's just so gross and disgusting,
yes,
and annoying, and I can't stand him.
yeah.
But it
It's like,
makes up for when you get a funny episode and you're wetting yourself. But I find like it's worth it for those funny episodes. But sometimes there's like blandness to it. And
yeah,
you're like, eh.
yeah,
But
yeah.
it is a good show, and it's got some of the best quotes ever from that show.
And I have also started again. I've just put it on my hard drive. Controversial, I know, because of shit she's done, but I just started watching Roseanne again. And fuck, I love that show, man. It's just right, hits me in the feels. So
That
funny.
cracks me up because guess what? I've just started watching in the last couple of weeks.
Gilmore Girls.
Yes, and Tyler was like, I cannot believe you're putting this drivel on again. He's like, Skye, we've been together for nearly 6 years, and I've watched you watch it like probably more than 6 times in that time. And like, I can't explain it. I can't explain it. And he's like, it's so terrible. And sometimes when he has to listen in the background, he's like, this is the worst show ever. And I'm like, I know, I understand, and I totally agree with you, but I love it.
Yeah,
it's my feel-good show.
Roseanne and Will and Grace for me, and Survivor.
But Will and Grace is a great show. Like, you can't call it a bad show. You could totally say that Gilmore Girls is absolute drivel.
Yeah,
but I love it. Love it.
It's your happy place. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So should we get into our stories?
Yes. I'm excited about tonight because I actually think you're going to love mine.
Oh, good. I'm looking forward to it. And I would like to just put out there, this is not one of my two terrifying cases that I'm allowed to do each season.
Pardon me, I'll be the judge of that.
No, because you'll just call any one of it. Okay, that's your first 2 done. Then I'll be talking fairy tales for the rest of the fucking.
Okay, listeners, I need people to be on my side. If this is really brutal, you need to contact us and say, too brutal. This is one of Beano's one of the season.
And look, I do understand all true crimes are brutal and that. And there's sadness in it, of course, but yeah, it's not one of my full-on ones.
I'll be the judge of that. But sometimes the sadness of them is really heartbreaking, and that makes it brutal in itself. The one that I still am not over is the woman who was bound in the old days, and I'm still not over that. And that wasn't even brutal in terms of what happened to her or graphic, but the brutality of how it occurred and how they still think it's a suicide.
I know, it's just fucking ridiculous.
Ruins me every time. Rest in peace, love. I think about you all the time.
Speaking of which, some of the ones that just blow your mind. There is a new documentary series released on Netflix yesterday, and we've watched the first 2. Netflix, yeah, it's the singular version. It's called The Worst Ex, My Worst Ex. They've got like the worst roommate one, but the ex one, like some of the shit. And the victims getting arrested for stuff and set up, and the police not listening to them. It just makes you so angry. Fucking brilliant though. The first episode, you hear the 911 call from a friend checking on a friend, and I was covered in goosebumps and like, oh my God, this is holding onto your chest. Like, it's traumatic. But I had to pause it and then look at Vin and go, this is fucking excellent. You know, like it was just this. It's so good. I felt terrible about it, but it was fucking so good. All right, let me get into my quote. Right. So I'm going to explore a story that shook Australia to its core, please, involving not only murder, but identity theft as well. It's also a case that literally took years to unravel.
Is this Australian?
This is Australian.
I guess we didn't actually say that. This is Australian true crime. Did we say that? Oh, did you? Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
So this, my dear stupid bitch, is the tragic tale of Karlie Pearce-Stevenson and her daughter, Khandalyce. Familiar with that?
Now I am. Once you said Khandalyce, yes.
So I wasn't really
listeners, this is going to be brutal.
I need you on my
side. I need you on my side.
So I wasn't really that familiar with the story, but after seeing some of the pics of those involved, including Khandalyce, it did ring a bell with me. I was like, oh yeah, that is familiar. So Karlie was born in 1988 in Alice Springs, where she underwent her schooling and also developed a love of netball. Remember our netball days? Were we the hot peppers or just the peppers?
The Peppers, I think. I think we
Yeah,
were the Peppers. We had red shirts, guys.
we did. And it was
That was
based on the Hot Chili Peppers.
yeah, and I don't remember it being based on that because I'm not a Chili Peppers fan. But our friend also who was running a business at the time sponsored us and
Sponsored
paid
us.
for our t-shirts.
That's
We used
right.
to get drunk, then play netball. That
And
was
then drink more.
pre-parenting.
I was going to say, I
That's
think
how
you only
young
did
we
one.
were.
You only did one season, then fell pregnant with Link, didn't
I
you?
think I did two, and then I
Two.
fell pregnant with
Yeah.
Link. And then my ex-husband, he continued on,
right.
and I used to come down and watch, not
Support.
drinking, of course.
No. But yeah, I end up playing 3 times a week with the Peppers, hashtag Angel Dust, hashtag Swing Attack. So we called our team Swing Attack, and the other teams must have thought we were just a bunch of swingers. I swear. Anyway.
It was the 90s, wasn't it?
No, it's the naughty stuff.
It was the noughties. Yeah, it was indeed.
So Karlie had a daughter named Khandalyce Pearce, who was born in 2006, also in Alice Springs. In 2008, Karlie and Khandalyce left Alice Springs in search of work and to head on an adventure, a life adventure. It's believed they travelled through Darwin, Adelaide, the Murray and Riverland districts, Victoria, and even Canberra. After setting out on their journey, contact with the family became sporadic, and then it just stopped altogether. Her family, though concerned, assumed she was just trying to find her way and didn't think too much into it at first. Then, after not hearing from her for an extended period of time, they listed a missing person report, or a missing persons report was filed by Karlie's mum with the Northern Territory Police on the 4th of September 2009. That report was closed just a few days later after they were reassured by a text message that Karlie was safe and she just didn't want to be in touch with her family at the time. Then, the following year, on 29th of August 2010, some trail bikers stumbled upon skeletal remains in the Belangolo State Forest in New South Wales. Now, you are familiar with the Belangolo State Forest, stupid
Indeed.
bitch?
Yes, I think everybody in Australia is, but maybe give a little bit of a summary about it for people who are listening abroad.
So it's sort of, I'll go into that. So at first, the media jumped onto it when they found these bones, jumping to the conclusion that this might be tied to serial killer and backpacker murderer Ivan Milat, which was
who Vinny went as a dress up in the 90s party. Yes.
Yes. Which neither of us have tackled to do yet on this podcast, because I think it'd just be a big one.
It would be huge. It would take a lot of research to get the chronological order and, do it right. Sometimes I look at some of the really big ones and I'm like, oh, I don't think I have the expertise to tackle that one.
If you did it, it'd just be like a quick overlay of it all. There's just so much in there. And then with his family's involvement, his childhood, the shit he stole, all that shit. Anyway.
And his brothers as well, wasn't it? His brothers were also serial killers, or his nephews or something.
That there was, and then he had a nephew who killed a friend in Belangolo State Forest as well. So, but after a closer look, forensic experts determined that these remains were left there years after Milat had already been locked up in prison in 96 for the murders he committed. And I wonder if that was part of Karlie's killer's plan to dump them in the forest with the hopes that they'd be confused, or part of Milat's doing.
Or maybe it was a relation.
What do you mean?
A relation of Milat.
Oh, who did it? Yeah. So the body was that of a young woman, and the initial investigation struggled to identify her, so she became known as Angel due to a t-shirt found nearby with the word angelic on it. For years, the identity of Angel remained a mystery. Then, in July 2015, almost 2,000 kilometres away in South Australia, another grisly discovery was made by the side of the road near Winarka. A suitcase, discarded like trash, was found to contain the remains of a little girl. Right after the child's remains were discovered, the police made a public appeal, asking for any information that could help identify her. They focused on the items that were found with and around the suitcase, like some children's clothing and a really distinctive handmade quilt. Crime Stoppers received over 1,200 calls, but one particular caller who finally cracked the case. They recognised the quilt as one made by the child's grandmother, who had passed away in 2012. sadly believing her daughter and granddaughter were living somewhere interstate, which, to be fair, was probably for the best for Karlie's mother and Khandalyce's grandmother, really.
So they went missing officially in 2009. That was the last contact, wasn't it?
So contacts, I'll get to this as well, but contact continues. But they listed the missing persons report in 2009, but closed it when they got text message saying, I'm fine. The child was no more than 2 or 3 years old, and the body would turn out to be identified as Khandalyce Pearce. The connection between Karlie and her daughter was not immediately made, but when it was, the nation was horrified. So the fate of Khandalyce was even more heart-wrenching. After her mother's murder, she was kept alive for a short period of time before being killed and stuffed into a suitcase. What's even a bit more ick about it is that the person who discovered and called in the body to the police wasn't the first person to find it. When investigated further, it seemed like the suitcase had been opened by other people who either didn't know what it was or they did and freaked and fled.
Just walked away.
Yeah, just because they probably didn't want to be, I didn't do it, or be tied to it or whatever. To
South
confirm
Australia once again, mate.
yeah, I know.
It's a
Murder
real
capital of
place, isn't
Australia.
it?
It exists. To confirm the identity, they compared DNA from the child's skeletal remains with a neonatal heel prick test sample, which I don't know what all that is.
They prick them when they first are born. They check
Really?
their reflexes.
Right. Well, that's how they were able to match it.
I didn't know that they took DNA from that. That's very interesting.
Yeah, because then everyone's DNA is on record. And that's when things really started to click. When they ran a national DNA search, they found a match between the child's remains and the DNA profile of her mother, where they just found her skeletal remains 5 months earlier, which is kooky, kind of, really. Whose unidentified remains had been discovered earlier in the Balengo State Forest, and the bones were finally then identified as belonging to Karlie Pearce-Stevenson. It is also believed that Karlie was murdered in Balengo Forest around mid-December 2008. So remember, a missing person report was lodged in 2009, but they got word the daughter's fine. She just didn't want to talk to them. So it was then discovered she was murdered just weeks after leaving Alice Springs. The last time anyone confirmed seeing Karlie and Khandalyce alive was on the 8th of November 2008, when police stopped them on the Stuart Highway near Coober Pedy in South Australia, and later in December 2008 in Charnwood, a suburb of Canberra. The case broke open after the forensic breakthrough, connecting the remains together.
And a long way from Northern Territory, all the way down there, isn't it?
To South Australia.
Yeah.
Well, not really. So Alice Springs is sort of...
I love you. Thank you, my baby.
Alice Springs is sort of sort of Central Australia. So to sort of go down, it's not too far really to South Australia, to the border. But
Coober Pedy's New South Wales, isn't it? Near the border of New South Wales. Oh, is it? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I'm getting mixed up. That's what it is.
I'm not sure exactly where Coober Pedy is, though. So investigators, once the case breaks open, the investigators then begin trying to track down suspects, trying to find people who the fuck did this. The police investigation that followed was one of the largest and most complex in Australian history. And when I was writing that, I was like, it's kind of funny how most of the Australian stories are always marked as the most complex or the biggest police turnout in history, all the Beaumont children, all these, and blah, blah, blah. So I guess for the time it was. And this was pretty big, though, because it turned into a massive joint investigation with police from New South Wales, South Australia, ACT, and the NT, all working to piece it together.
It's sometimes a good thing when they're all together on it.
Yes.
Because there's things that get picked up in different places that end up relating back. It's when they do it solo that it's like...
When they're in a silo, exactly, where it's just like, fuck you, you missed out on this, or the killer got away for an extra 2 years because she just weren't communicating. So this was pretty big, as I said, blah, blah, blah. Over 42 volumes of evidence were compiled and every lead was chased down. The story that emerged would be one of betrayal and cold-blooded murder. Police discovered that after Karlie's death, her identity was basically stolen and used for years. Her mobile phone was still active until mid-2011, with text messages being sent to her family and friends to keep up the appearance that she and Khandalyce were alive and well. and even to ask for money. Her bank account was also accessed until at least 2012 across 4 different states and territories, with over $90,000 being stolen, including money from Centrelink family payments and other fraudulent activities. So when they've realised this and they've seen that these transactions are happening, they're able to find CCTV footage from June 2010, which shows a woman in a wheelchair along with a man going into a credit union where she pretended to be Karlie using her identity documents. Then another woman is seen on CCTV impersonating her at a Centrelink office in South Australia that same year using documents that also identified Karlie's daughter.
What pieces of shit?
Shit, I know, right? It's like the fucking Snowtown guy. He did all that too, remember? Within days of releasing the identities of the victims, police reported they had several suspects, including one in a New South Wales jail awaiting sentencing on unrelated charges. So on the 28th of October 2015, this guy named Daniel James Holdom was 41 at the time, gets arrested while he's in prison. Later on, he's charged with the murder of Karlie Pearce-Stevenson. It turns out Holdom was in a relationship with a woman named Hazel Passmore, who's believed to have stolen Karlie's identity after she was killed. Investigators think Holdom might have also been involved with Karlie herself. The police managed to trace a signal from Holdom's mobile phone to the exact spot in Belangolo Forest where Karlie's remains were found, right around the same time of the murder in December. So going back a bit, in September 2008, Holdom had been in a car crash that killed 2 of his then partner's children, and the mother was in the crash as well, who got seriously injured and ended up in a wheelchair.
The chick in the wheelchair.
Losing her leg in the crash. It's believed to be the same woman who impersonated Karlie at the credit union in 2010. So what's even creepier is that in August 2008, before all of this went down, the woman uploaded photos of Karlie's daughter Khandalyce to her Facebook, showing her with her own kids at a motor show in Alice Springs. So she was a friend of Karlie that she knew this was happening to. And obviously then had relations, or her kids were friends with fucking Khandalyce. On December 15th of December 2015, Holden's then arrested again, this time for the murder of little Khandalyce. The police described her death as extremely violent and believe she was killed just a few days after her mum. One of the officers on the case mentioned that it was a good thing Holdom was already in custody, as it gave them time to really dig into the investigation without him being able to flee or them having to release him with not enough evidence and all that shit.
Yeah. And then everything's an open book then, isn't it? Because he's already incarcerated on charges, so everyone has to tell you everything.
Exactly. So Holdom was charged in Parramatta local court and denied bail. His trial was initially set for 28th of January 2016 at the Central Law Courts in Sydney, but it got pushed back to March because the police and prosecutors were still gathering evidence. The case got delayed again in September 2016 with new dates set for November, as they were still collecting evidence from the 5 jurisdictions. And that's another thing. They've just got all this time now to just play with it and make sure they get everything fucking set. It was determined that Karlie and Khandalyce had been targeted by Daniel Holdom and his partner. Instead of helping her, they just lure her into a trap. It's believed that Karlie was killed in late 2008 in a brutal attack, her body dumped in the forest, while her identity was stolen and used to access her Centrelink payments. For years, someone was living off her benefits and sending texts to her family to keep up the illusion she was alive. And that's for years they were sending those texts.
What a bunch of grubs.
I know, like for, 4 years they were sending these texts through and asking for more money and shit like that. And probably using Khandalyce as the reason why we need more money and yada, yada, yada. So during Daniel Holden's committal hearing in August 2017, some pretty disturbing details come through, revealing the horrifying truth of what happened. It was alleged that Holdom was actually told a witness he stepped on Karlie Pearce-Stevenson's throat, crushing her windpipe and burying her body in the forest. Karlie's autopsy showed she had been subjected to brutal acts, including sexual abuse, with Holdom having stood or knelt on her chest until she died. He even took pictures of her after her death.
Ugh.
It also came out that he killed Khandalyce. He stopped at that before he killed Khandalyce, he stopped at a supermarket to buy duct tape and garbage bags. He then suffocated Khandalyce in a motel in Narrandera, and she was found with a disposable diaper wrapped around her head and dishcloths shoved down her throat before he stuffed her little body into a suitcase
Oh,
and dumped it,
yuck.
where it stayed hidden for nearly 7 years. And I just can't fathom how anyone could do that to another living thing, let alone a human being or a fucking baby at that, a toddler. It's just like,
So how did the suitcase end up on the side of the road?
that's where he dumped it. He just threw it on the side of the road in Winara.
But it was there for years, wasn't it?
Yeah, but it's like in the middle of fucking nowhere. So it's probably in shrubs and shit like that. You know, you're driving from one town in the outback to another.
Yeah, okay.
So it'd just be by chance that it was fucking found. So Holden made his first appearance in the Supreme Court of New South Wales on the 1st of December 2017. His trial was supposed to last about 3 months, starting on the 6th of August 2018. But on the 31st of July, he ended up pleading guilty to the murders. His sentencing, which initially was set for the 29th of September, got pushed to the 9th of November, where he faced 2 life sentences. After his guilty plea, the full brutality of the murders was made public, and it turns out he had a history of violence against women and a disturbing interest in sexual violence towards children. The court even heard that there was evidence of sexual motive behind the murder of little Khandalyce. Bruce Pearce, who was Karlie's father and Khandalyce's grandfather, gave a written statement during the sentencing saying he wished Holden could get the death penalty. But
I wish he could get the death penalty.
I know. But of course, New South Wales had abolished the death penalty for murder back in 1955.
Well, Australia's completely abolished the death penalty,
Now they have.
which I support.
Yes,
but
yes.
I know,
it's conflicting. Prosecutor Mark Tedeschi described the murders as a thrill killing, calling them atrocious, detestable, hateful, gravely reprehensible, and extremely wicked. And on the 30th of November, Holden was sentenced in 2018. Holden was sentenced into the New South Wales Supreme Court for 2 consecutive life sentences without parole. In December of 2015, the remains of Karlie and Khandalyce were brought back to Alice Springs, where they had a funeral service for them both. The community came together raising funds to help cover the cost so that mother and daughter could be back at home together and rest in peace forever.
Oh, that's so sad.
And it's funny because when I searched creepy true crimes for Australia to do for my first one, and this one popped up, and I thought, oh, okay, I haven't really heard of this. I'll look into it, blah, 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 blah. And then another case came up on the news recently where someone was getting trialed, I think. Another creep of a guy who shot a 10-year-old girl in the back of the head and in her back. No one knows why. And they were referencing it. Some reason they brought up this case at the same time.
It wasn't the Rockhampton guy, was it?
No, not the one that you did. No,
yeah, because he shot a little girl in the back of the head.
This guy, this is kind of recent. So I think he's just getting tried now for it, or, he's been arrested for ages. And he was someone who started blaming the mother at one stage and all this shit. It was an absolute prick. But that's my true crime for the first one of season 9. Keeping my brutality at a medium level.
I think that's pretty brutal, man. And also
totally
really
brutal.
sad.
It's definitely sad and brutal. But it's not one of my 2. I know, but bless him. And the poor bloody Karlie trying to do the right thing, trying to get a job, get out of Alice Springs, trying to set up a life for her and a daughter, and
See, I remember when they found the suitcase with the little girl in it, and then I remember them mapping it back months later to the mother, and I remember it being in the forest. But I didn't realize that they prosecuted someone. I didn't realize they found the person who did it. I thought it was going to be one of those unsolved ones that you do.
And he's an absolute fucking. He looks like a piece of work too.
They always do. They're always fucking absolute filth. Ugh, yuck.
Yeah, he looks like an absolute prick, doesn't look at the poor little
Yeah.
darling. What a scumbag, eh?
And she was so young too. The mum,
Yeah,
how old was she?
she was 20, I think.
Oh my God.
Yeah, because she was born in 88.
Oh, that's so
Fucking
brutal.
scumbag. All right, how about you lighten the mood?
Oh, okay. So I'm going to talk about a man called Geoffrey McLean. So when you see the photos, you totally understand what I'm talking about, who seems like a very lovely man. All the photos that you see online, he just has a really nice, kind face about him, I think. Um, and it took me a long time to piece all this together because there's
Oh,
so many articles out there, and literally all the articles just had bits and pieces because so much has come out
yes.
about this over a period of time. So, there's a lot of info out there, and initially a lot of stuff wasn't known, but I've managed to piece it together as much as I can. But I've read probably about 30 articles on this
Oh,
case
wow.
to get to this point.
I had to
It
do something similar with this one I did. Like, I just have my Word document where I'd start and then I had sections on another one. I'm okay, this goes here, this goes here. Yeah,
yeah, this took me a while to put together. Okay, are you ready for this one?
I'm ready for it.
In the months before 55-year-old Geoffrey McLean went missing, his life was filled with violence.
Oh,
Not much is known publicly about his lifestyle, except he was in a long-term relationship with a woman by the name of Sheree Glastonbury. Sheree was 49 and a
cool last
government
name.
employee. They lived in Salisbury in South Australia, and Jeff, I know South Australia,
Yeah.
here we go. And Jeff owned a number of items of wealth, including property and several motor vehicles. Since Jeff's death, Glastonbury has been caught attempting to transfer all the items of value into her name. The Court of Adelaide have become involved and placed a hold on the transfer of titles whilst the court case is ongoing.
So when's this? When did this happen? Sorry.
Uh,
So it's a court case ongoing now.
Still,
Oh, wow.
April 22.
Oh, wow.
Authorities believe it all started in April of 2022. You
You don't
stupid
say. You do
bitch.
not say.
Although not much information is available regarding the origin of Jeff and Sheree's relationship, how long they have been together, or whether they shared any family ties, my assumption is they did not. But Jeff is reported in the media to have children of his own. This is how things began to unfold. On April 10th, 2022, Jeff and Sheree Glastonbury were together at home when they heard their dogs barking at something in the front yard and went out to investigate. Jeff was confronted by a man named Mark Murphy, Sheree's workmate of over 10 years, and it is alleged sometimes intimate partner. Mark Murphy was armed with a sauce bottle. Murphy squirted the contents of the sauce bottle into Jeff's eyes. It was liquid acid.
Fuck.
Whilst this attack is recorded in many news articles, there is nothing to substantiate if he pressed any charges or what medical treatment was required. But 3 days later, Jeff was sleeping on the living room couch of his home where him and Sheree lived when he was woken by something hard hitting the side of his face.
Oh,
It was Mark Murphy again. He was stood next to him with a wood splitter. A wood splitter, I think, is like a
it's like an
big
axe, isn't it?
yeah, I think so. Or almost even like a baseball bat type of thing with something on the end,
Right.
and had swung it and prepared to strike at him again. Jeff deflected the second swing, screaming for Sheree to call 000, but she delayed. Eventually, emergency services arrived, and Jeff was taken to Royal Adelaide Hospital, where he underwent 9 hours of surgery on a fractured skull and cheekbone. On the day of the attack, mobile phone records confirm that Sheree Glastonbury and Mark Murphy exchanged more than 100 calls and messages.
So who had exchanged it? Mark Murphy and who?
Mark Murphy and Sheree Glastonbury. So
Yeah.
Jeff McLean is the person who has been attacked,
Yep.
who is in a relationship with Sheree, and they live together. So this is in 3 days. This is the second time that Mark Murphy has attacked Jeff. The first time with acid in his eyes.
Yeah.
The
And
second
now
time
he
by
was
beating
wetter.
the shit out of him while he was on the couch.
And you can't tell me that there was nothing going on.
I know. 1 month later, Sheree
God.
asked Jeff to retrieve something from out the front. Why he hasn't left her at this point is beyond me.
Yeah, I know.
There
Or
is
gotten a log
definitely
or had trust issues.
there's definitely way more to this story than the public is aware.
Yeah.
So she asked him to go and get something out of the boot of her car. A different man this time was waiting for him, holding a bucket of liquid. The man was Anthony Lloyd, 65 years of age, another of Sheree's former lovers. Without saying anything to Jeff, he threw the bucket of liquid over him.
Mm.
He immediately began to feel his face, shoulder, and back begin to burn. Anthony produced a cigarette lighter and attempted to set Jeff on fire. They struggled.
That's
Jeff
one of my
had
worst nightmares.
fire.
Being burnt alive.
Yeah, it wouldn't be great. Be a brutal way to go. They struggled and Jeff handed his phone to Sheree, begging her to call the police. She ignored his request, with emergency services only arriving after he approached the next door neighbours. Police arrived.
The jig is up, bitch.
Well, is it? Police arrived and proceeded to hose him down in the front yard whilst waiting for the ambulance. Jeff suffered burns to his shoulder and back and required skin grafts. Anthony Lloyd was jailed for 5.5 years, immediately pleading guilty to the attack.
Why isn't he fucking throwing her under the bus? Pussy.
He has also provided statements disclosing that he was acting on the request and direction of Sheree Glastonbury. Prosecutors for Anthony Lloyd allege Glastonbury wanted the victim harmed to the point he would have significant injuries and not be able to remain in the house. So he wasn't prosecuted. He was like captured, I think, straight after the attack, but he wasn't prosecuted until a little bit later, and I'll get to that. Let's stop for a minute and discuss before I tell you the final details of the story. All my research indicates that Sheree Glastonbury was complacent and or the instigator of the attacks on her partner, Geoffrey McLean. I find it bizarre that nothing had happened to her at this point.
100%. It's obvious she's involved if a workmate's done it twice and then some old flame's done it. I don't mean old flame as in...
So this happened in April 2022, right? So he got the acid in his eyes from the sauce bottle. 3 days later, he was attacked on the couch and had to go emergency surgery. A month later, a different guy attacked him and tried to set him on fire.
And she did nothing to help.
That's right. But I find it bizarre that, I mean, surely emergency services, police, and investigators would have been sus at this point.
Yeah.
3 attacks, 2 involving acid. Like, why haven't they stepped in? I could understand if maybe he was going back because he loved her and truly couldn't believe that she was capable of anything, or maybe she talked her way out of it, whatever. But surely the authorities have gone, this is a real head scratcher. Like, come on, this poor dude's been fucked up 3 times now, twice with acid.
Yeah, something's amiss.
So at this point, they wouldn't have known that Mark Murphy was the guy who had attacked him in the first 2 instances, but they knew that Anthony Lloyd, 65, by the way, he was 65 when he did this, was the culprit in the 3rd attack. But they've already been there in 2 other occasions after the bucket of acid was thrown over him. The only thing that I can think of is that there was some known organized crime occurring locally, and they attributed to what was happening to that. Also, why did he keep going back to her?
Yeah.
Let's return to the chain of events, please. On August 19th, 2022, Geoff McLean was reported as missing to the authorities. So April 22, beginning of April, he gets attacked. 3 days later, he gets attacked again. A month later, he gets attacked again. So we're talking April, May, August, he's gone missing. In light of the vicious attack that had occurred earlier that year, police refused to accept that he had not met with foul play, despite being informed that he had left home to meet someone. Police had divers scouring nearby wetlands looking for traces of the 55-year-old. During September, Police were alerted that human remains had been located and called out to a vacant lot in Salisbury where a dismembered torso was found in a stolen wheelie bin by a local gardener. August 18th, 2022, just over 4 months after the madness began, Geoff returned home from a day of golfing, where prosecutors alleged that Glastonbury injected him with a lethal dose of insulin. Mark Murphy, the guy from the first and second attacks, also allegedly helped Sheree to drag Geoff's body to the carport and cut off his arms and legs with a hacksaw.
God, how can you do that shit?
It's just the worst.
You're a medical professional. Tell me what's involved in that.
I know, right? In the carport too, not even the garage.
Yeah.
I think they lived on a farm or something.
Not even the garage.
As the details of her ex-partner's mutilation were read to the court later, Glastonbury, appearing via audio-visual link, sobbed violently. Please.
Yeah.
After they had dismembered the body of Geoff McLean, prosecutors claimed they transported him to Mark Murphy's house and placed his torso in the neighbour's wheelie bin. 3 days later, they hired a truck and drove it to Khandalyce, 140 kilometres northeast of Adelaide. It is suspected that the purpose of their trip was to dispose of the remains of Geoff and any other evidence relating to his murder. The pair were captured by safety cameras in the truck's cabin. Unfortunately, at this time, after searching the local landfills, authorities have yet to locate Geoff's full remains, although investigators believe that his body was kept at the home of Mark Murphy and his brother in Adelaide's northern suburbs for 2 weeks before his torso was transported to the vacant lot.
So was his head attached to the torso?
They haven't found anything other than the torso. That's all they've got.
God.
Yeah. Investigators have located highly vital conversations between the brothers, who were twins, claiming that Peter Murphy told his brother, "I didn't even know the CUNT, but I know him now."
CUNT?
I know. I can't say it. I don't like that word.
I hardly even know the can.
He is also reported to have said, "I know him very well, truly now, fucking living out in my backyard for 2 weeks."
Oh.
What a grub. This is the brother. This is the twin brother of Mark Murphy.
What a fucking scumbag.
Another conversation is alleged to exist between Peter Murphy, the twin brother, telling a third unidentified person that he would need to get another person involved in this elaborate fucking lie. A final conversation that has been reported to the public via journalists states Peter Murphy is heard saying, "I don't know what footage they've got, but if it's me and it's out there, we're fucked." This will be relevant shortly when I tell you some other stuff. All this time, 4 people are charged. At this time, 4 people are charged with the murder of Geoff McLean and are awaiting trial, as the alleged Wheelie Bin murder continues to grow in scale and complexity. The trial,
murder.
Hey,
The Wheelie
I
Bin
know
murder.
it's such a horrible name, isn't it? Like, I just
That's
think,
what I'm putting down as the tagline.
Yeah, I think you have to. But when you see photos of this man, he just looks like the nicest, sweetest man.
Mark Murphy.
No, Geoff
No,
McLean.
that's-
Mark Murphy's the guy who killed him.
MAC or MC? That's all right. I got it.
MCCLEAN.
Oh.
I know,
like
doesn't he look like a nice man?
Yeah.
And that's why I think he kept going back, because he obviously loved her and didn't realize, just didn't believe that she was capable of doing the things and just thought it was some weird dude doing these things to her. Okay, at this time, 4 people are charged with the murder of Geoff McLean and are awaiting trial, as the alleged Wheelie Bin murder continues to grow in scale and complexity. The trial has been delayed several times as more evidence comes to light. USBs with pages of evidence, including spreadsheets containing numerous listening devices, mobile phone and car cams, are believed to be just some of the recording of the accused and the witnesses. Court documents cite over 100 witnesses, Also included is 170 pages of the detailed events
Jesus.
resulting in Jeff's death.
That's
So
a
people
lot.
have totally all come out of the woodwork and said, yeah, we know all this stuff. And that's why I think it's hard to get heaps of stuff from the media, because they're keeping it under wraps, because it's just going to be like, done.
They're waiting
It's
for more
obvious.
people to come with shit too.
And when they were in the cab, like when they hired the car, they were calling each other murderers and stuff, and they didn't realize there was a safety cam the whole time, like tracking them, because they hired a truck. And obviously the insurance policy and the company and stuff like that has a camera in there to maybe monitor the people or what they're doing and making sure they're safe, workplace health and safety. They probably signed the contract going, yeah, we totally agree to be recorded. No dramas.
So they don't sound like the brightest of people.
They sound like the dumbest fucks ever.
Okay, yeah, no, I don't want to victim blame. But yeah, so and they were taking it as a mockery to it, the whole scenario, calling each other murderers. Hey, murderer, taking pride in the fact that they'd done it.
Yeah. And then immediately she starts transferring all the property over into her name straight away.
Balls crying with probably not an actual tear.
The 4 charged with his murder are Sheree Glastonbury, Mark Murphy, his twin brother Peter Murphy, and his partner Lynette Sexton. All 4 were residing together at the Murphys' property prior to charges being laid.
And do we even know the actual motive? Was it just for money?
Well, what they're saying is that they're saying that she said to someone that she just wants him out of the house. She wanted the house, I think.
Yeah.
And she wanted to injure him enough so that he would be like hospitalized permanently, I think, or disfigured, or like,
when you're a fucking torso,
disabled enough so that he would never come back, and he'd just be in like, I don't know, a facility because he was so sick. Glastonbury has repeatedly asked for bail and to be released to the care of family members, as she is having difficulties dealing with her sleep apnea whilst incarcerated, claiming some of the cells she has been residing in do not have an outlet for her to plug in her CPAP machine.
Oh, the poor thing. Her sleep apnea is really terrible.
She needs to be released on bail.
Stat.
But yeah, then I go, what do you think about that one? In all the photos, he looks like a lovely man too.
Oh, bless him, he does. He looks like a sweet little. He looks like he could play a Santa Claus. It'll be a really nice granddad.
Like, this is why I think that there's so much more to it.
Yeah.
Because whether or not the police were maybe gathering evidence in the background, never really thinking that she would go through with murdering him, perhaps, or maybe they had their eye on her the whole time and have been recording certain things as well based on suspicion, because it looks like they've got him.
And when they don't release all the evidence because they wait for someone to trip up to say something that hasn't been released yet.
Yeah, and they don't do background and stuff. Like, it took me ages to find out that she was a government employee. It just came up in one of the articles I was reading. I was like, government employee? Whoa. Oh, I wonder which government she works for. What part of government?
Yeah.
I have searched her name. I have combed the internet for anything I can find about her as a person.
And Glastonbury would bring up a lot of fucking...
I know. And I think the name sounds fake. Don't you reckon? Like Glastonbury. Like, she looks like a proper Ridgy Aussie, if you know what I'm saying.
I mean, like, we were colonized by them. What's her name again?
Sheree Glastonbury. Get a look on her.
Sheree with an S. Oh dear. Sheree.
Yeah. There's some photos where she looks actually really attractive, and then there's other photos where you're like, wow. But she had 165, so she was 49, and she had a 65-year-old man that whipped, that he came around and threw 100%. Acid on a dude that he didn't know.
And that's what I was going to say. Obviously, Geoffrey is a bit whipped as well. Like, he's an old guy. He's got this blonde dolly looking, not Barbie by any means, but like,
But he was 55. She was 49. There's only 6 years difference between them. That's not a huge age gap.
The blonde curly hair, a fake tan, and all this. So she's like a little glam.
So what I think happened was they've met. You know, they've gotten together. He's had a house, he's got grown children, owns a lot of nice cars, done quite well for himself. Maybe his
Yeah.
wife, you know, passed away or they were separated when he was really young. He's gone on to independently do quite well for himself. She's gone, met him in a pub, gone, okay,
Set for
okay.
life.
Been there for a couple of years and gone, you know what? I want all this for myself and I don't want you here.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
I'm not in love with you anymore, but I'm not prepared to give up this life
yeah.
of what I've got. Yeah.
I want everything. I want the property. I want all the assets. I want it all. And I'm going to fuck you up.
Yeah. What a cow.
I know.
And I hope
So I'm just going to be obsessed with this now. And I'm going to put like a, you know, one of those notifications where anytime her name pops up, it comes to me so I can find
how do
out
you
all
do
the
that?
updates. Just Google. Just get them to email you. So you just go into Google and you go, I want notifications every time something comes up in the news about blah, blah, blah. And you give it a name or a search phrase. I used to do about my book. I used to put something in like every time Single Rider was announced. And then they brought out an Asian film called Single Rider. So I was always getting notifications about this dumb fucking Asian film. Not my book.
Fuckers. Should have copyrighted that shit. Single rider here, folks.
I know, right? But I know that the solicitor spoke when they denied their bail and said, you know, the family's really happy that the prosecution's proceeding, but it's already been delayed. So what? It was 2022. What are we, 2024? And there's recent updates this year. Like I was reading one in June. So that thing about her, you know, saying, I'm just like, so it's so awful for me because I can't plug in my CPAP machine was June 2024.
Yeah. And that's because, like, there's so much, as you said, there's so much evidence that they're collecting. They don't know how many other people have probably been involved. So they're getting all their shit together, getting it all done. So, yeah, that's not surprising it's taking so long.
Yeah.
When there's been so many attacks as well. So there's a lot of involvement.
And I was reading some other stuff about like the solicitors because there's a different solicitor for all four of the accused, like a different person. And they were saying like apparently it was supposed to go to trial and like a day before the prosecution came up with all this evidence, including the listening devices. And they're like, you need to like, you know, we can't go to trial. We need time to review it. There's so much information and so much evidence, and we've only been presented it with it like a couple of days before trial. This is not enough time. You have to push the date out again.
Yeah.
So they just keep bombarding them with more and more and more stuff.
Yeah.
Like the pages and pages of listening devices. Like, come on.
No, fucking idiot.
Like that's going to be like mobile phones that they've confiscated that they have obviously haven't deleted anything. They've been arrested and they're like, give us your phones. There's like text messages, emails,
accessing their WhatsApp,
phone calls, Facebook Messenger,
and then all the fucking pinging off towers where your mobile phone was.
100%, yeah. Like the cab when they're in the cab. Like imagine the CCTV around of all the places that they've gone when they're purchasing the acid and stuff like that.
That's the thing. Like people say about the amount of CCTV now and how not monitored we are, but how, you know, with digital currency and all this shit, everything's so trackable now and people are freaking out about it. But to a degree, that gives a bit of comfort. There's no Jack the Ripper shit happening anymore, you know, where they can't.
Imagine if this was around when the Beaumont children went missing.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
CCTV.
All that horrifying case that you did about all those young boys that ended up in pieces. Yes. Like, imagine if there was CCTV back then, or they could track people's phones. Imagine how much evidence would come out. Like, you wouldn't want to be a corrupt cop these days because they're gonna get you.
Yeah, thank God too.
They should like go ghost and like, you know, file off your fingerprints and shit.
Yeah. So at some point it's actually comforting. As long as it's used properly too. You know, they can AI some of that shit nowadays too, and you just don't want to be fucking innocented.
They know everything about us, really. Like there's and you know, the police only have access to some of it. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like there's people out there who have access to anything that they want, depending on how much money they have.
They were able to fucking find about that terrorist attack at Taylor Swift's Austria concerts and stop that happening. And, you know.
Oh, segue into Taylor Swift. How surprising.
Well, it is true crime. But all that type of shit, you know, like they can pick up like all the terrorist attacks that were planned in Australia over some shit. There's all that stuff. Instead of it going ahead, they're able to fucking monitor it or nab it before it happens, which is comforting.
But I have to say, that was very quick, considering how much time I have spent researching this case and how many articles. Like, I was up at 4:30 this morning doing my notes.
Oh, you
and I had done my next episode's notes. Like, I had done most of them a couple of weeks ago because we are going to do the episode, but I still had to finish them off.
Me too.
So doing that and then doing this case alone, which I had also started when Tyler was in hospital. I'd written a whole chunk of it, watched multiple videos, read multiple articles. So I just want to say, dear listeners, put a lot of effort into this.
I know. And that's the thing. Like, you wish the amount of research took as long as it took to deliver the story, but it does not.
I know. And look, maybe we need to get more access to like restricted records or something. Maybe we need to learn how to hack.
Yeah.
Get into the police databases.
Oh, no, that was good. And I have not heard of that, even though it's so fucking current.
I know. I hadn't heard about either. It just came up randomly.
It's probably been in the background or some shit. I've just not paid attention. But now, just like the Khandalyce thing, when I see it, I'll be like, oh, that's that one.
Yeah. But pretty full on, hey.
Yeah. The poor man.
I just want to know everything that happens now. Like, I'm so obsessed. I need to see how it unfolds and see what they've got them on and see what happens. But again, like, you see something like this, and like your case, as much as we both totally don't believe in the death penalty, because you don't want to kill one innocent person for the sake of all those monsters out there, but sometimes those monsters really deserve it.
Yeah, or at least to be fucking lobotomized or something.
Yeah. Break their kneecaps.
Yeah, totally. Cut off a leg.
That's handmade shit.
Yeah, totally. Sew their lips together. Cut out their tongue.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, it is terrible. And it's just so sad. Like, and I mean, like, at any age, it's terrible. But you just don't think by the time you've made it to 65 that fucking murder's still going to be on the cards. And then that bitch saying, go get this from my trunk, I'd be like, fuck that bitch. You know what happened last time I went outside? You go.
Exactly. I've just had my whole face reconstructed.
Yeah.
And I got acid in my eyes. Like, so I don't even know when he got acid in his eyes the first time. Like, that must have had some lasting damage.
Exactly. You like, get some floodlights.
And then 3 days later, he's in hospital getting his whole face reconstructed. Like, mate, ask for help.
Yeah, exactly.
Men are victims of domestic violence too, you know?
It's okay to ask for help.
Yeah, I reckon the coppers were on to her though. Like, I reckon they probably tried, and then he was like, nah.
Even still, if they're onto her, the fact that fucking...
They should have protected him a little bit more.
They could have given him a bit of a heads up. Do you think that? Maybe.
I don't know. Maybe they
worth getting a hotel.
Didn't put two and two together and were just and like I said, maybe there's lots of gang crime around there, and maybe it's a dangerous area.
And the first two were from the same guy, so they thought maybe he was a jilted ex-lover.
No, we'll see, they wouldn't have realized that. So it only has come out afterwards that he was involved. So what happened? So even the 65-year-old who threw the acid on him, he wasn't charged until after his body was found. So it was 6 months later. So they didn't know it was the same
guy who did the sauce bottle. And
no, not until now they know. But when it happened, the sauce bottle happened. He got beaten in home. Two different attacks too, by the way. The third attack, and the dude went to jail for like 6 years or 5.5 years. Yeah. But it wasn't until after they found his body that they prosecuted him.
If they didn't know it was the same person who did the sauce bottle and the wood splitter, you'd still be thinking, that's pretty bad luck. There's got to be some connection then.
Yeah. And on the third time, when he got released from hospital, you'd think all the coppers would be, dude, come on.
Yeah.
Don't go home, man. There's something going on. Or you don't live in a very safe area.
Put the mouse back in the house and get out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
I know.
Well, wow.
But I hope she goes down.
Oh, she will. She will.
And they beat the shit out of her in jail with her dumb blonde hair.
Stupid fucking ringlets.
Yeah.
She's going to be a flavor in the prisons. Without a CPAP machine. She's going to have a fun
time in there. She's especially if she doesn't have well.
If she doesn't have a CPAP, she's probably snoring like a bitch. So she's going to get punched in the face for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, thanks for listening, everyone. It's been great to get back into the helm and back in the podcast saddle.
To the helm. What's a helm? Do you even know what that
HELM.
is?
Yeah, isn't it
I
like
know, I know the word, but do you know what a helm is?
isn't like the helm like your sort of like domainy type thing or the driver's seat?
Isn't it part of the boat?
What is a helm? A tiller or wheel for steering a ship or boat.
Told you.
What does the mean of helm? A lever or wheel? The entire what does back in the helm mean?
Do you know, because you've got the background on, when your face moves around, it almost looks like you're wearing like a beanie or some sort of bandana on the back of your head.
Oh yeah, I would. It's
There, go.
my balaclava. Oh yeah, no, at the helm. So you're at so yes, disregard me being back oh yeah, no, we're back in the steering ship of our podcast. So we're back at the helm.
Back at the helm, steering the boat to safe waters or choppy waters. It's hard to say.
It's usually choppy.
We don't know a lot about boating or waters for that matter.
All I
Peter doesn't
know,
like the sea.
all I know is there was a poop deck.
And hopefully cocktails.
Cocktails. I was going to say something about a coccyx, but that's not that's a
That's your
body
butt.
part. Yeah.
That's your bottom.
But thanks for listening. It's been great to do this again, and we're not too pissed after the first step, which usually
No.
means episode 2, we're just going to blink and we'll be blind, rotten, drunk.
Yes, we won't even be able to get through the intro without slathering at each other.
Looking forward to it. Pop culture is coming up next week. Doing a little bit of unsolved mysteries, people.
Was also, if you like what you hear, please tell your friends.
Yeah.
Share, share, share.
Share, subscribe, like, follow, advertise, promote.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
But thanks, guys. It was lovely. Good night, you stupid bitches.
Good night.
Good night. Yeah, that stupid bitch. He's a stupid bitch. What a stupid bitch. That's stupid.